round!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Next Rung. This is our first live stream, and with me is Connor and 3D
Hello.
Dan.
Hey, I'm Dan.
I, of course, am Pete the Ed Banger, and Rick Vieira is currently in Inquisitional custody and will hopefully return next week.
Hopefully.
That's
Maybe.
what heretics get.
Yeah, I already
Exactly.
a heretic. Rick seems like a heretic.
Uh,
Chaos.
JK, love you, Rick.
so, in this show, we're going to be going over the big fat changes to our armies, and we're going to be talking about some of the new upcoming changes that we just saw at Warhammer Fest. I'm personally super excited about the paint because I'm lazy. Um, but there we go.
I'm
Sweet.
excited. I'm excited too because I'm lazy too.
Well, I'm a hard worker, so.
I mean, we can tell Connor's always sitting there painting, but
Well, I
we
said
Yes, it's true.
working guardians.
Connor's boss, if you're working, give this man a raise.
Give this man a
uh-huh.
raise. Give this man a raise.
So I'm happy because I'm just getting to Age of Sigmar with all this shiny Slaanesh stuff, and I've got so much purple to paint. It's gonna drive me nuts.
So, what other big things came from the Warhammer Fest? Like I, of course, fixated on the fact that I'll be able to run knights with chaos, but well, they're gorgeous models. In my defense,
I think the
I know
models were
everyone
good.
else is
Look really good.
terrified of what that means, but
Yeah, I guess the other big news, like big-ish news, is that AdMech get transports now. I don't know if that's going to make a super difference, but I know that a lot of people I've been talking to online about the upcoming shift in the meta. People are thinking that like transports and like light vehicles are going to make a comeback. Now that the Castellan has been toned down and isn't going to be everywhere, people are going to be able to bring those like Rhino equivalents that their army has, and now that AdMech has one, I'm sure there's going to be some creative, like diehard AdMech people who will figure out a good use for it. So that's interesting. I think the Chaos Knights are definitely the biggest news, though. I'm really curious.
Yeah, in my
I
opinion,
do think. Yeah, go ahead, Pete. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, it's fine. In my opinion, the biggest. I don't know. I agree with the light vehicles. I still stand by. I think transports as just transports are garbage in this edition.
Mm-hmm.
I will never take a truck. Um, battle wagons have their place because I think things like battle wagons, Razorbacks, those type of transports have a place. Toroxes because they're more than just transport; they're also almost like a light tank.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
I think transports that are literally just transports are bad in this edition just because of the way the dismount mechanics work, in my
I,
opinion.
I think that touches on one of the pillars we talked about in one of the prior videos that a well constructed top notch list, like every point you spend is more than just the point you're spending. Like I'm spending for Graya 17, the Rusty 17, because they give me anti psyker in addition to security hold or object secured and screening. Like rhinos, outside of a few specific cases, they're just 80 points or 70. Is it 72 points? I think, but
Yeah,
70 to 80 points for the hold guys. Wave serpents are excellent because they're obnoxiously durable, but they also have some decent, application with like screening and that kind of thing.
absolutely. Um,
Yeah.
I'm Raiders and Venoms have place because they're open top shooting. Not only do they get the troops where they need to get them, they're also, hey, you can also put all your guys in here and shoot.
yeah,
And I
right.
think that's lacking in the Imperium. So,
On that note, I think that Venom. I've seen a lot of people talking about Venoms in like my Eldar circles.
Hmm.
I think that Venoms are going to be a thing because I feel like Dark Eldar players have a lot of Venoms because they're
oh
cool
yeah,
models. That was like a way you would run them back in previous editions. Like I
Oh
know
yeah.
that Scary, Archon Scary, like a Canadian YouTuber, ran like 12 at a Canadian tournament and did pretty well. So again, I
No,
like light
they were
transport.
they were running them just as recently as last September in droves because Venoms weren't giving up ITC points to speak of. So
Yeah,
you would just have Venoms banned.
Which I
it's
don't.
good. It's a lot of shots, and they're fast as shit.
Yeah.
I think that I think Venom's really first to get their fast as hell. They've got that native -1 to hit,
Yeah, that's
and
really
they've got a pretty good gun on them. I mean, they fit that light. In my mind, they fit that light tank role. Um,
mm-hmm.
Well,
I
so I like Venoms and I like light armor slash uh, light tank kind of stuff, but I don't know really how applicable that whole like we're just going to see so much more of it. If Chaos Knights end up being serviceable at all, irregardless of the fact that the Dominus class Castellan for them still going to be 700 plus points.
mhm.
If the meta Chaos list ends up being either Jim Vessel's like Demon Spam with some other Thousand Sun support or Knights, I don't know if running you know Venom's going to be the best bet. Even if technically the other flip coin of that is, even if Chaos Knights aren't as good as like the Castellan Nightmare days,
Mhm.
the, the fact that so many people will be running them may kind of invalidate like Venoms and light weaponry or light vehicles because of that.
I think that Venom. I think Venoms would be good against Jim Vessel's list, but
Well, yeah, but I'm saying is
yeah,
like if
be
you
kind.
still have the same amount of Knights players on the Imperium side, and then you double that because everyone wants, or more because everybody wants to run Chaos Knights now.
I hate Knights, man. Knights suck. JK, that's fine.
You got to race Knights, be quiet. But no, I, was there any other big news that you guys saw from Hammerfest? I mean, the paint is probably like Chaos Knights #1. The AdMech fanboys are going to be really happy with the transport, but I think the paints are probably bullet point #2.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I
I didn't
think
see
that.
significance.
Yeah. Aside from that, it was a pretty quiet convention as far as releases go. I think we're coming. They're coming right off the tail end of all the new Slanesh stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
so
Well,
I.
they also, being candid, even though we're doing a 40K podcast, they also still view Horus Heresy 30, like effectively 30K, as a very profitable, and I believe it is, line for them.
yeah,
So I know a lot of the headlines were dedicated towards like Dark Angel, Horus era stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, which is good.
Yeah.
It's for our purposes. It doesn't matter very much, but it's always good for the 30K fans are all like every 30K person I've ever met has been really fucking cool.
Oh
Um,
yeah, chill as hell. Like,
about the
yeah.
cool
But
as well.
the important news is there's Chaos Knights coming. I don't know if I've touched on that yet, but there's
That's definitely I think that was definitely the news. Like the fact that they're gonna get a book is a really big deal.
Yeah.
I was expecting them to get the White Dwarf treatment. To be honest, I figured that would be the easiest and cleanest way to do it. But speaking of knights and knight books, and can we have a moment of silence for Castellum?
Oh, we're gonna get to that. I think that's actually a pretty good transition for the big old fact, which I know everybody else has been going over it, and kind of my fault we didn't have a show last week, cause
It's all
It's all good, lad.
the Gretsch, the Grats got in the recording software and things happened. But we're gonna take another run through the big fact update here, and really just talk about the important stuff that we feel is important.
Yeah,
I think there's enough content out there at this point about all the little stuff. A lot of small changes and rules clarifications. I think were good, but
I think the biggest takeaway from it, I mean, past the points adjustments, the knights and all that, is GW's not messing around anymore with the whole like that's not really what we intended for you to do. So stop, you sassy little brats. This is what we meant, and that's what
back.
it's going to be. I love that over like in the patch notes. Effectively, they were so sassy with it, and I enjoyed it so much.
Oh yeah, no,
I think
They were like, you guys are all idiots.
I think that I actually really so as far as content, I think they're really knocking it out with these big facts. Um,
yeah,
but
Yeah.
anyway, let's go through the
I
big
think
change.
it's yeah, I think it's indicative that they get it, and I'm big changes because I'm excited to see how it plays out.
So the first
Yes.
big change was actually undoing a bad change from the last one, which is moving units that can fly in the charge phase. Um, base, basically, what they did is in the last fact they just said you lose fly in the charge phase. Period. Um,
Not just fly though. Wasn't just fly. It was all the Harlequin stuff,
yep.
the Canaptic race from the Necron. Anybody who had the ability to basically more models in the charge phase, were like, no, 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 too strong.
Yep. So what they've done is they've basically changed that so that you can't hop fortifications, but but aside from that, you're back to base. You're basically back to the base rulebook where you can ignore models while you're consolidating in the charge phase, and they've errated all the uh, things like flip belts, wraith form to reflect that change. So that's a good change in my opinion. Even though I don't have a lot of stuff that flies in my list, but that's a good change.
I think it was very important. I think Blood Angels needed it, and there's a few other armies like Harlequin, especially with the another of the nerfs that we'll get to. I think they needed some love going back into them.
Yeah. So next big change is the way that aircraft are handled. Um, so there's a big change to flyers. Um, and the biggest change is that now effectively flyers don't exist on the battlefield, which means you can no longer block with them. Basically, the way that it works is that you can move through a flyer, you move into within an inch and pop out the other side of their base, um, which is, in my opinion, absolutely amazing.
I thought you still had to have the movement to clear it.
I believe you do. Um,
Yeah, you have
So
to be. You can't be within an inch of a flyer.
yep.
so the big a bit of minutia there. So it's not just all flyers. It was flyers or with the that had a minimum requirement for the movement.
Right.
Mm.
Gained a new keyword, aircraft. And so, like, if you have a squad of guys that move 5 inches, that doesn't necessarily help you there because even though you can move under it, if you can't advance past that with your movement distance, they still effectively screen out. But like knights, for example, depending on how things are going, I can still squeeze out 12 inches plus an advance, for example.
Exact.
So
Yeah.
I think it wasn't too heavy handed. It introduces some more outplay or counterplay, which I
Mm-hmm.
think is what you want. You want interaction between armies. You don't just want I play this, you play that. And there's no crossover.
Absolutely. Um, so we're next thing, next big change, they finalized a lot of the match play rules. Everything here we're pretty familiar with. The only big change is Bolter Discipline and Death Watch. A lot of angry Death Watch players after this particular fact. So
Yeah.
we got Bolter Discipline pretty much the way it was put in beta, but Death Watch basically don't get it to some extent. They do
Yeah.
not get it when they're firing their specialized ammunition, although they do get it when they are firing normal ammunition.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and essentially, they did this because otherwise they'd have to rebalance the entire codex. Um,
Yeah.
so I feel this is maybe a little bit heavy-handed, but on the other hand, fuck those guys.
Yeah. I think it killed is too strong a word because Death Watch veteran squads are always going to be in vogue with the point drops and chapter approved to the storm shields. But I think it was perhaps a bit too heavy handed for the intercessor variety.
Hmm.
because that gave them the ability to pop off rapid fire shots at 36 inches, for example, or because they had the ammunition that extended range. But now that kind of role got swept out.
Yeah.
But
Uh,
I think overall I like it. I think it was cheeky that they got rid of the vehicles aspect
yeah.
and the so like oh, suddenly land raiders are too good now. Like, wait, what?
Yeah, because we saw that giant influx of what is it? The Crusaders.
Yeah, the double
Centurions.
bolter guys.
Centurions.
Yeah, I
Oh,
mean,
the
Yeah, the crazy
sorry,
Crusaders.
sorry,
Yeah.
the Land Raider Crusaders, not the not the Black
Oh yeah,
Templar
yeah.
Crusaders with their with their storm bolters because that was just too good. Or sorry, Hurricane bolters. My mistake.
And in other news, custody players will stop crying. Um,
You're not Space Marines. Get over it.
but no, I think overall it makes sense because especially if Death Watch was able to keep that running,
Hmm.
they would have. It wouldn't have been like, hey, we're Space Marine players, and then you also have Death Watch. It's like we're Death Watch players. That's the only way to truly be competitive with that going on. And I
Yeah.
still think Death Watch, even with being touched by that, is still probably the best build.
Well, I mean, they still get the rule if they're just firing normal ammunition. I mean, it's not.
Right.
I mean, they got something they didn't get before. So
Yeah.
it's
Mhm.
I'm not quite sure I can get behind somebody saying, that it wasn't
Oh, you
enough. I
killed
mean,
it.
it's
Yeah,
like
no.
you didn't lose anything. It's.
No, you're right. Unlike, say, Eldar players. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
Uh,
Rest
yeah,
in peace.
I think the Doom change is like it's like fine.
Which.
Talking about FAQ changes, it's
Yeah.
not. I think the Doom change plus the Inari change kind of sucks.
Hmm.
But
For context, it was Jinx, Doom, and was it Reveal?
all the all the good offensive like debuff power. So Doom, Jinx, and Reveal for Eldar, which is specifically a Craft World Eldar from their psychic tree.
Hmm.
Those are only able to be used by Craft World Eldar units because before you would see the other branches of Eldar like Harlequins and Dark Eldar being able to make use of those rerolls because the wording on the power was like a little bit ambiguous in that way. It just like it
Yep.
basically said your entire army gets to make use of this, but the
Which was
FAQ
fun in doubles tournament.
units.
Which is, I mean, and really the big way you saw that used was Raiders, or not Raiders, Ravagers,
Ravagers. Yep.
just getting really, really good.
Or
And what,
or Skyweavers.
and, yeah,
Yeah.
but
Which is an interesting place meta wise because without um, those bikes being able to use Doom, Eldar kind of will. I think they're going to struggle with Knights unless you're playing Flyers. Um, Other Eldar builds, I think, are going to have a little bit of a tough time killing Knights without the rerollable haywire shots,
yeah,
Yeah.
I can
which
see
is
that.
and especially losing Soul Bursts. It's kind of like ooh. So,
Yeah.
and right, and just for people who don't know, the Yunari faction got a White Dwarf FAQ where
Hmm.
previous Sober said you could like take double actions with a psychic, like double actions being shoot again with like a psychic power or through some other stuff, and that's just totally dead and gone now. Soulburst has been changed like completely. So, and an interesting meta spot for sure. I haven't played Knights yet with my new Eldar stuff, but I want to, so I can see what it's gonna be like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Other big changes we saw is the big Imperial Knight changes, and these are probably the biggest news.
Rest in peace, big guy.
There were two big ones.
Rest in peace, big guy.
First off, the Castellan went up 100 points, just straight up 100 points more expensive,
Sorry. Sorry.
and
Oh,
you can basically no longer get an invulnerable save better than a 4 plus.
That's a
I
good change.
prom- I
That's
promised I would keep it together. I'm trying. I'm struggling.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, okay, Dan.
He was the
Okay.
Hmm.
big green guy. He's lovable. He just he didn't even run up and hug you randomly. He just stood in the back and chilled.
uh, yeah, as he deleted half
No,
my army every turn.
let's let's be honest. I can admit this. Um, it it was a needed change, though I think too heavy-handed. Um, I don't think the Castellan, especially in the place where we're at, meta-wise, is the big boogeyman that everyone thought it was. I think the 4-up invulnerable save cap is probably the best move they could have done. Of course, it makes me sad that I don't get a 3-up save anymore. But um, it's fair. I just don't think they needed really to touch the Castellan in addition to. There's already enough armies out there that can just blow through it, even with a 3-up save.
Yeah, but I feel it's a little bit less of a litmus test for a competitive army now. I think it's still a strong pick in a knight's army, but it is not a default pick in every Imperial Soup army you ever see now, which is a good thing,
And
honestly.
actually, I owe people an update. Um, some of the people that I talked to have known that I was shifting to Crusader, Crash Crusader specifically, with rapid fire battle cannon, a Gatling gun, and all the other bells and whistles I can throw on it.
Hmm.
And it's nice, but it is not nearly as nice as Raven Castellan. I would say that now. It's kind of a actually good comp as a Haywire bomb from like the Skyweavers, because if I get the rolls in and you fail rolls, each one hurts a lot. But because most of my guns are wounding other knights on 4s or
Hmm.
5s, so there's not like, well, all these guns are wounding on 3s or 2s, and I think that's a big thing.
I don't know, Dan. I gotta say that what armies were you encountering that was blowing through the 3-up invuln on the Castellan? Because if it was Eldar, then if
That's
they
not a
had,
thing anymore.
yeah, that's what I was about to say. If they hadn't points bumped the Castellan and hit it with a 4-up, I think right
Well,
now it would absolutely
I
rip everything to shreds without
the
the our counter of like the Haywire bikes and the Air Force with Doom.
so the mechanized Eldar that was leaning on Ravagers with Night Spinners and Flyers, it lost a little of its teeth with the nerf to Doom, but you just shift those points from the Ravagers into Fire Prisms, or you run more Flyers, and you that list is fully capable of deleting 2 knights a turn, especially with the 4-up cap.
Well,
The mech Tau have the ability to put down 1.5 to 2 knights depending on rolls. Um, there's a couple other ones, like some of the chaos builds. They have the ability to. They've always had the ability, like Magnus Mortarion, definitely still have the ability to put down 1 or 2 knights a turn.
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like that was like I thought the Castellan was almost like a hard counter to that because if Magnus Mortarion like didn't go first, they were just like one of them is dead,
Hmm.
and
Um,
then the
no,
other
you're
one,
right.
and
Yeah,
then he was really gonna be able to put in the work to be able to clear all the guardsmen out to get to the Castellan in the first place. And then he just died.
ironically, the Castellan nerf actually hurts knight armies the most. I know that sounds weird. I know what Pete was saying about it's no longer auto-clued Imperiums, but the 4 knight list, which was generally like 2 wardens or 2 questors, plus a gallant, which is a melee one, and the Castellan, and a battalion of cheap screens, that list almost can't operate anymore, and that that hurts that build significantly because now like you would have the Rusty 17 for 165 points, and you'd have your Castellan. Now that eats out to the point where you don't get your second warden, you get like a gallant to be able to squeeze that battalion in.
Yeah, I mean double gallon's still really good though. But I see what you're saying, Daniel.
I
Um,
guess.
the gallant's really good, but it one of the big things we've seen is especially with the proliferation of not horde but like horde light armies where you have 60 to 100 model counts
Mm-hmm.
with clever board positioning like the new scout or the infiltrators and eliminators from the space marines. You can pretty much shut down a gallant for like 2 or 3 turns where it just can't get anywhere on the table to actually have a meaningful charge. And that's not counting gene stealers, which I'm terrified of now.
Yeah, Gene Stealers are apparently the new boogeyman. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, so, but before we get to that, let's get through the rest of the changes.
Yep,
Um,
absolutely.
so we talked about the Elder Psychic powers. Um, the last one, big one. Well, there was a minor one. Minor one, the Imperial Assassin stratagem went up from 1 point to 2 points. So,
Which is makes sense.
which is
That's
fine.
fine.
Very strong. I
Still
put
very,
assassin.
still very good in my opinion. Um, big hit with orcs. The Ludobomb pretty much got a double whammy of a nerf.
Yeah.
Uh, first off, they changed mob up so that only boys can mob up now.
Oof.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So
Sorry.
so no more 25-man Ludobombs, which eh. I'm I'm a little bit less angry about this than a lot of people on the internet seem to have been. Um, in my mind, I just got like 180 points back in my list that I can do something else with. Um, I'm still
Let's be honest. It's basically your Castellan in this
yeah,
context.
yeah, but unlike a Castellan, I can I can spend those on smashing guns or
Yeah, yeah.
the orc codex is in my opinion it is really full of good options except the Stampa.
No,
Stampa sucks.
absolutely. I just meant in the sense that it's a tenet or a very foundational piece that a lot of people were using for so long,
Yeah.
and you're just kind of like, oh, I need to relearn how to do this a little bit. Okay.
And the other big change that we got was you no longer roll once per phase for the number of shots. You roll once per time they fire. So now if you have them shoot twice, you need to roll twice, which some people are seeing as a nerf. I actually see it as a buff because it means you're going to average out to 4 shots a turn more commonly, and I like if I could change that D3 for just a straight up heavy 2, I would every day of the week
Absolutely.
Oh,
personally.
consistency is so much. It's king.
Yeah. So, um, I don't know. I feel that the orc. Sorry guys, I feel the orc community's kind of overreacted on this a little bit. I don't think it's as big of a nerf as people are screaming it about it.
I think people just really like being able to roll that 3 and then keep it. Like
Yeah.
because you can't mob them up and you can't do the roll a 3 and keep it. I think people are mad at that, but I agree with you, Peter. I think that like it's a dice game, and if you get a better average with the new thing, that's probably better.
I mean,
But
you don't get that big spike of 75 shots, shooting twice a turn, deleting the Castellan, all that fun stuff anymore. But meh, I'm still going to run 15. I mean, I'm still running a full Luda blob of 15. I still think they are pretty effective and tend to delete stuff off the board just fine.
it's still a good,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah,
I think
there's
I think this is just like GW is really they're like committing to getting rid of stuff that's like almost like a Death Star,
mm-hmm.
which is Buddha Bomb is not like a Death Star like in Seventh, but it's like one scary fucking unit that you can like rot shield and do all this shit to make it really hard to kill, and it just like
But I
murders
mean,
any.
for those 10 Ludas, I can get a Dakajet, a maxed out Dakajet. I can get like 5 Mega Knobs. I can get, I don't know, like 7 Smashy Guns or something like that. Um, I mean, I have other options to spend those points on that really fill the same role. And I guess we're going to get into the list changes here in a minute. But I've been playing around with my list to see what's really fitting. So
No, you're absolutely right. And the Orc Codex is one of the deepest ones, and there's a lot of stuff you guys can play with.
yeah, I mean, there's a guy that plays at my store named Jonas that some of you guys may know. And he just keeps saying nobody's found the perfect orc list yet, and I have to agree with him just because there's so many ways to go in that book, and I don't think anybody's found the perfectly optimal combination yet.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Um,
But so, how did that impact your list, Mister Pete the Headbanger?
so my big, so I had a couple things. My list for those that don't run it, no, this is why I basically run brigade and a battalion. I run the souped up shaka. I run a morkanaut. I run a gorkanaut. I run a couple big mechs, one of which has the Bad Moon relic shotgun, and the other one that's just another custom force field guy. I run 15 Ludas, and I run Smashy Guns, Death Coptas, some regular mechs, and then just Grots as my troops. Um,
Nice.
so what's it's really made me do is it's made me look at other options. I've run through a couple iterations of my list since the change. Um, I have tried running Mega Knobs, 5 Mega Knobs with a Power Claw and Shido, which are not a terrible selection. Um, they're just a little bit difficult to use. Um, I've ran more Smashy Guns, which is good, just a little bit spendy. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Also, I think there's a certain point where you just overload on mech guns. I personally think 6 mech guns is the right number. I don't know why, but that just seems to be the right number to me. Um, One of the things that I'm really thinking of putting in, as like I was saying, a Daka jet with 6 Daka guns. Because
Oh,
with that is giving me 18 shots, and of course bad moons. 18 shots hitting on fours, re-rolling ones at strength 6. Not terrible.
not bad at all.
With all the Daka and all that good stuff you can do. Um,
Can you give it more DACA?
oh yeah, you can give it anything you want. You can even have it fire twice if you want.
Ooh, spicy.
Yeah, right.
That's
So, can you give it a Castellan? Because I want a Castellan back.
home, Dan. Go home.
I'm gonna buy a Castellan and loot it for my Morkanaut
Do
just to
that.
piss you off.
No,
Connor, how did yours change?
my list.
Yeah, since everything.
I mean, to be honest, my list hasn't really changed. So collect myself. So the Unari change was really big. Um, for me, I mean, for every Unari player, obviously, it changed a lot of the power that my units brought. Like, because my list, just for reference, is for the past year and a half been like 40 to 60 Guardian Defenders. Um, was the base of it, was the core. And then the last few months, I've been running that paired up with a battalion of Cursed Blade Witches with 215 woman units of which for a deep strike assault threat. And then their detachment generally ended up being characters.
Mm-hmm.
Like before, it was Harlequins for some death gesture shooting and some solitaire assault tricks. So what it is right now is it's 60 Guardian Defenders in a battalion with the Avatar Arcane, Eldrad, and the Spirits here. I kept my same Witch battalion with the 2 units of 15 Witches, and then I now have a Yannari Supreme Command. And this is like kind of the new thing with Evrain the Cat Lady, 2 Autarchs on jet
Skyrock.
bikes,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and then right now my last like 100 points, I'm using it for a unit of 9 striking scorpions.
No, I'm
That's
excited about the for you.
Basically, like the changes, the biggest change is I'm not running the Incarn anymore because the synergy that was in my list previously was that the Incarn made all of my guardians fearless, and since the new unit, so my changes are really based around the Inari book, not so much the FAQ.
mm-hmm.
Um, so previously, like my guardians could make use of the craft world Eldar stratagems, like things like having them get a 4+ invuln and +1 save from a psychic power, like tricks like that. You
In
can't
addition to, yeah,
you can't do that anymore because the Yanari book said that if they're Yanari, they can't make use of any outside strats. So
Yep.
basically, not having the Incarn around means that I'm taking the Avatar Arcane to make all my Guardians fearless, and he's like a decent beat stick. So like that whole dynamic is gone with the Incarn bouncing around the board with their teleportability. So my list is like a little bit more static in that way.
Mm-hmm.
But the cool things are the new Autarchs I'm running are fun. Now that the fly keyword has changed, they can like hop over screens and assault things, and they're a decent flyer counter because they have the fly keyword and they can charge flyers and they're very good in combat.
Right.
Uh,
and Banshee Mass.
and ignores Overwatch is really nice, especially when I have witches on my list. But yeah, man, the changes aren't like my list has not changed all that much. I think it got knocked down a peg just because Yanari was so strong. The previous Soul Bursting rule was so strong. But I'm making it work. Eldar
Sounds like
people,
it has a lot of potential.
Yeah.
yeah. The striking scorpions are interesting. They're a cool little thing. But yeah, just making it work. Going to a GT in like 2 weeks. This is basically the list I'm bring. So all in all, it's pretty good. Avatar Kane's fun.
Yep.
Yeah, he's no Incarn.
I don't know. I don't know. I played against the Incarn last Friday, a little teleporty motherfucker. Could not.
Yeah, Incarn. I would still like if only the Guardians could still be fearless from her. I would still take her. But without that fearless bubble, she just really ends up not being worth her points in the type of list that I run because she was such a big force multiplier, and now she is not.
No. I don't know. I'm of the opinion that I still think you're doing okay overall, but
No, Eldar are still in a really strong spot for sure. Like my very particular list build took a hit purely because like I think the Incarn is just better than the Avatar Arcane.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And she doesn't synergize with my army anymore. But like Eldar are still in a great place. I think, like I said earlier, they're going to struggle with knights and maybe vehicle spam a little bit. Like that's why I have the Altarks because they're decent vehicle counters. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, I mean, the only thing I will say about changing the how the FAQ changed is I think it's with the Doom change was the biggest thing because that was like really the only thing that affected Eldar. And I think it's really kind of shoehorned um, what I believe competitive Eldar are going to be at big tournaments into like you're going to run like 9 flyers or you're going to run like 5 flyers and some like night spinners or wave serpents. And I think that
Yeah.
like that is really strong. Like I think like I could take that list on, but it would be difficult, especially without the Incarn because she was so good at killing flyers.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
I also think people are sleeping on, like we were talking about, like Venom spam and grotesques are still fucking grotesque.
Yeah,
And don't get me started on Talos.
yeah.
I played Yanari Venom spam, and that shit was scary.
Like mono Dark Eldar is still really good. Like it sucks that they can't get Doom anymore, but it's mono Dark Eldar is as strong as ever. Really, I mean, like, except for the Doom thing. But yeah, I mean, it's the getting the fly keyword stuff is good for back. That's cool. They can do that now.
Mm-hmm.
Eldar's in a good spot. I think they took a hit for sure, but they're not gone.
No, I think everyone kind of took a hit across the board. Like the stuff that was outliers in terms of too strong.
I
Yeah,
think I think Imperium is still top of the heap though.
yeah. I think I mean post fac, post changes. I think kind of your S tier armies are still Imperial soup. I still think that's the best army out there. Um,
If we're calling Gene Stealer Cult Imperium Soup,
that actually is interesting. So I haven't played a good G Suiter Cult player, but they are apparently very much the new boogeyman that everybody's talking about.
They're good.
um, they're such a boogeyman that Nick Nanavati is no longer playing his sponsored orcs and played Gene Stealer Cult at the Canadian Championship, the
Yep.
Tabletop Championship.
Can you guys hear the?
One more time.
Can you guys hear guitar music?
I can.
Okay.
I mean,
Oh,
I, I thought you were serenading me for a second.
that's my roommate's band.
No worries.
Your roommate has a band.
Yes, he's a good guy.
Are they gonna get some free publicity here?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna hop off, guys, because this is gonna get louder and louder.
Okay. Well, why don't we wrap? I mean, we're 40 minutes in.
Yep.
Why don't we wrap it here? So lots of good changes. Thank you for the two people that tuned in live. Everybody else will be running these live
Yeah.
every Thursday night at 9:30.
Yep.
Talking about 40K changes, 40K gaming, what we're doing. Um, like, spread the word, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Good night, guys.
viewers. Love you. Have a good night.
We love you.